Well, good morning. Certainly an honor and a privilege to be here at the Kentucky State Fair this morning, and can think of few more American things than being at a state fair. And we actually have two American red breeds that are showing this morning, so thinking to be in for an awfully good day of some incredible cattle, as to be expected, particularly in this breed, and just a great way to start. Oftentimes it gets said a single entry that could stand more competition, and in this class I think that that's most deservingly the case. Hopefully they continue to just progress up in terms of age, but keep this kind of quality. Just a really nice, proportionally made, attractive lined heifer. Really nice when you get her on the stand from the side profile. Really lots of length and levelness, yet good in terms of her structure at the ground. Just a nice spring-born heifer calf here to start our Santa Gertrudis show this morning.
Results from Class 2 late junior heifer calves. First goes to Top Shelf Cattle Company of California, Missouri with entry number 6548. We're now showing Class 3 early junior heifer calf. And as we get started with our Santa Gertrudis show this morning, I want to take a moment to introduce our judge, Emily Griffiths. She's the co-owner and operator of 3G Ranch, a purebred seed stock operations consisting of 200 head of Limousin, Gelbvieh, and Angus cattle. The operation's primary income comes from the sale of bulls and females to commercial cattlemen. However, they have extensively used the show ring as a marketing tool, exhibiting national champions in 5 breeds, and 3G's been a long-term co-op partner with Wolf Cattle of Morris, Minnesota, who market over 100,000 head of fed cattle annually. Let's go ahead and welcome Emily Griffiths to short our Santa Gertrudis show this morning. And now in our red pole show, we're showing Class 11 early senior heifer calves with 3 entries. And our judge for our red pole show today is Will Banks from Cynthiana, Kentucky. He grew up on his family's Red Angus seed stock and commercial cow-calf operation, and collegiately he attended Hutchinson Community College and Kansas State University, where he's a member of the judging team at both institutions. And today, Will helps run his family's breeding program alongside his working as the risk mitigation coordinator for Bluegrass Livestock Marketing Group. Let's go ahead and welcome Will as he sorts through our red pole show this morning.
Well, a really nice trio here in our early heifer calves. January and a February heifers out here. Heifer that wins, I think, just all in, just like her brood cow feature, really maternal, particularly through her center body. I think that's where she has the advantage over the heifer in second. Just really deep made, stout, great in terms of her angles, lots of comfort and cushion as you watch her get out and go. Now, I'll be the first to admit that although I like the grow in that heifer that wins, I probably like the youthfulness of feature, a little bit more of probably the likely maturity pattern, moderation in size in that heifer in second. That one's just a really striking kind of heifer, tremendously heads up. Again, like her class contemporary, ahead of her, made really well. Probably just right through her center body is where she has a little bit the disadvantage today, maybe a little bit behind in terms of maturity, makes her read that way. Just a little bit tighter through her center rib, and forerib gets a little bit higher in her flank, but one that's really nice on the profile, great in her lines. Heifer that ends up third, I love her length, really extended kind of heifer, particularly out of her hip. She's just one that'll be interesting to study as she continues to grow. Just like her at this stage, though, a shot more substance in relation to that frame that she has, but nonetheless a really high-quality one that ends up in third. Good class there of winter heifer calves.
Results from Class 3 early junior heifer calves. First goes to Daryl Pitchford of Eustis, Texas with entry 5742. Second to Alan Barlow of Lenoir, North Carolina with entry 1970. And third to Nolan Hurd of Centralia, Illinois with entry 4358. We're now showing Class 4 late senior heifer calf.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to come and evaluate in a place that has been very special to me my whole life, and have the opportunity to sort your Red Pole Show. It's a good class to get started with, and I'll tell you up front, there's three heifers in here that have got a lot of good to them. All three of them are a little bit different, but the heifer that I used to win off the class with, I think if you just study them at the standstill, that one's body volume, her dimension, her mass, a ton of rib in that particular heifer is why she goes ahead and wins. And though we could probably tidy her up a little bit at the point of her shoulder and maybe relax her on her rear pastern, I still think at the standstill that heifer's balance complements herself just the best, especially when you study them at the lower part of her rib. Again, you know, we talked about her. We can make her just a freckle more refined up front. I think the heifer in second definitely has the upgrade there. She's a touch longer from her shoulder forward. I like that heifer's just length of body, her length of hip that she's got, her levelness she's got from hooks to pins, on top of just giving up a little bit more body volume, a touch more dimension than the heifer that wins the class. You get that heifer in motion, and like our class winner just a little bit, she's a two uncoordinated there in terms of her hind leg. I just like to stouten that heifer up at the ground just a little bit as she leaves us. The heifer that rounds out our class, to be honest with you, young lady, you may have the freest move and most angular one amongst this trio. I like the slope of your heifer's shoulder the best in this class. I like your heifer's mobility the best in this particular class. My issues with her is you get on either side of her, she gets pretty flat and narrow. We just need to give that heifer a little bit more power, a little bit more substance there to get her up any higher. Let's congratulate those three exhibitors there as they exit the ring.
Well, over here in our Santa Gertrudis ring, a really nice late senior heifer calf, November, one that's just incredibly powerful, like her in terms of her genuine width, how square she goes to the ground. It's got some true muscle shape. Maybe what sets the foundation for that up front is what we'd like to change a little bit, though, in her, just as we study him as an individual, in terms of making her a little bit smoother right there at the top of her blade, hooking her up a little bit stronger there in her chine, and I think that you'd like how she's assembled a little bit better when you tweak those things on the go. But from there back, that's a really opened up, powerful, dimensional kind of senior heifer calf that's a single entry out here in this particular group. But yet again, another really high quality entry.
Results from Class 11 early senior heifer calves in the Red Pole show. Your class winner and division champion goes to Andrea Weaver of Ligonier, Indiana, with entry number 2778. And reserve in that division goes to Justin Platt of Fairland, Indiana, with entry 3642. And third in that class goes to Joe D. Baxter of Elizabethtown, Indiana, with entry 4159. We're now showing class numbers 18, April Junior Yearling Heifer.
We get back over here on our Red Pole side, and a female that comes to us in a single entry that's got a lot of length, a lot of grow to her. I like this heifer's femininity, her refinement, the stretch this particular female has. You get her out in motion too, and I think she covers her tracks fairly well also. Maybe could soften her up just a little bit for this particular judge. It's getting nitpicky on a heifer that's got a lot of refinement, a lot of good to her from a flexibility standpoint. Let's congratulate this young lady there as she exits the ring.
Well, just a single entry September senior heifer calf over here in our Santa Gertrudis ring. One that I just love how she reads is a really easy keep and low input, one that's got a lot of flesh and a lot of doability in any time, specifically now raising cattle. Those are always going to have a really good kind of impact on your bottom line. This one's maybe one that as we study her from a structural standpoint, we maybe might like to make her a little bit more relaxed, give her a little bit more flex and reach off at either end. She maybe gets just a little bit straighter there off either end, but on the stand, have to appreciate her just for her power cow kind of future. Yet again, another really nice single entry in our Santa Gertrudis show.
Results from Class 4 late senior heifer calves. First goes to Alan Barlow of Lenoir, North Carolina with entry number 1971. And Class 5 early senior heifer calves. First and First Kentucky goes to Ashley Osborne of Lathrop, Missouri with entry 1509. We're now showing for champion heifer calf in the Santa Gertrudis show.
Another good class to get in and sort through over here on our red pole side. And I think the heifer that wins suits me very well. I guess specifically at the standstill, you talk about a heifer that's moderate and she's good in her lines. The way that heifer's symmetry and the lower sweep to her rib, all those things fit together very, very nicely on this particular heifer. You know, if you want to critique her just a hair, you get her in motion, we could probably just tilt the angle of her shoulder back just ever so slightly, maybe give her a freckle more just strength through her hind leg. I think that heifer's got a lot of good and a lot of quality, no doubt. The heifer that's in second, you know, if you like them performance driven, you like them with a lot of grow, a lot of stretch, a lot of volume to them, this heifer's got it all. That heifer's longer there in terms of her cannon bone. She's pretty much longer everywhere, if you want to talk about it that way. And I think if you truly get up on top of the cattle and study them, she may have just a freckle more turn to her upper rib than the heifer that wins the class. Skeletally speaking, you get this heifer out and you get her rolling. Her shoulder angle is also too straight, and she kind of wants to just get a little bit more rigid and outside of herself as she steps and plants, as she turns and leaves us. Nice pair of cattle there. Congratulations to those two exhibitors.
Results from Class 19 March Junior Yearling Heifers in the Red Pole Show. First and First Kentucky goes to Sadie Jo Brown of Hardinsburg, Kentucky with entry 1555. And second goes to Andrea Weaver of Ligonier, Indiana with entry 2777. We're now showing for your Junior Division champion female.
Well, over here in our Santa Gertrudis ring, a really powerful division and kind of challenging when you think about just picking a heifer calf, because in terms of their bovine timeline, there's a lot of different points kind of where they're at in their maturity pattern still at this young age. So that makes it challenging and also makes it competitive. But I think nonetheless all a really uniform group just in terms of kind of having those brood cow basics. And obviously for this breed, those are the kind of things that we'd expect and what makes them so valuable. I think for me, all in, there's probably one out here that does the most right in terms of being really proportionally made, having some bloom, having that kind of the foot foundation and feature, yet still having the kind of juvenile, youthful look that she's going to keep headed in the right direction. And then I think just a really nice kind of powerful one to fill in behind. But there's a lot of good different cattle out here. I think it'll be interesting to follow them and watch how they continue to be competitive, but more importantly, what they can do in the next generation. So great group here in our Santa Gertrudis heifer calves. Let's give all of these exhibitors a round of applause.
We get in over here on our division in the junior yearling side. I think there's three heifers again that they've got a lot of differences and a lot of strengths amongst them, no doubt. I thought there was one that come out in class and suited me very well. Love this one's moderation. I think she lines up pretty good from the side, has a lot of function, a lot of use and utility to her. Young man there out of our second class. You're going to go ahead and have our champion. Congratulations to him. As we get in for reserve contention, again, you kind of just got to step back and ask yourself, what do you want? I think there's more refinement, more stretch in the heifer up front, maybe a little bit more flexibility. Personally, I just like the volume, the body mass dimension of the heifer out of the second class to go ahead and be reserved. Congratulations, young lady.
And your champion heifer calf in the Santa Gertrudis show goes to Top Shelf Cattle Company of California, Missouri with entry number 6548. And reserve goes to Daryl Pitchford of Eustis, Texas with entry 5742. And your Kentucky Division champion goes to Ashley Osborne with entry 1509. We're now showing Class 9 early summer yearling heifers. And results from your red pole show, your champion division junior female goes to Sadie Jo Brown of Hardinsburg, Kentucky with entry 1555, and she will also be the Kentucky champion. And reserve in that division goes to Andrea Weaver of Ligonier, Indiana with entry 2777. We're now showing Class 25 early senior yearling heifers.
As we get in here, this will be a single class division. I was just told two nice heifers again. The heifer that wins, I sit here and I study them for a minute. Both the cattle are fundamentally good enough at the ground for me. I think both of them get out and have plenty of flex and plenty of comfort to them. But if you get right up on top of them, the heifer that wins this class, to me, is truly just more authentic. She's better right out the back of her shoulder, just in terms of upper rib shape. That heifer's got more stoutness back into her pin set, into her stifle, and she carries it deeper there into her quarter as well. If you're going to get in and compare, she's comparatively not as deep as the heifer that's in second. She's comparatively not as strong in her loin as the heifer that's going to be in second. But I like that heifer's rib shape. I like the flesh she's in. I like her condition. And I think a heifer that still gets out and can travel with the best of them. The heifer that's in second, if you talk about making one moderate and cowy and just tremendous in terms of her body depth, she's got all of that. And I definitely appreciate the fact that she's showing us just a little bit more udder development development in that particular female. Alongside of that, I see just a little bit more age and maturity up through her head and through her neck. She's a little bit open there at the point of her shoulder. And then behind, I think if you just study them, that heifer's flatter there in terms of her forerib, needs just a little bit more power as well. Both nice pair of cattle there. Let's congratulate those exhibitors.
Well, over here in our intermediate class of May and June heifers, a really, I think, dynamic group, particularly at the top end, can be challenging depending on how you read them. I think lie at kind of opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of type and kind and what they can offer. I think for me, in terms of genuine width, particularly where true power starts in cattle, which is in their forerib and true width up front, I like that darker red heifer that's going to go ahead and win. Now, would I like to elongate this one in her extensions off of either end? Certainly. But I think as you study her in relation to how she's setting her shoulder, which actually she's a little bit smoother right at the point of her shoulder in relation to that one in second, still has some genuine width to the ground and just so much more true forerib. She hooks in better right in there behind her shoulder. Now, like we said, this lighter red heifer in second, I do like the length and look, and that one's really an attractive heads-up, plate full of profile kind. She's just maybe one for me to really be all in on her look. She just has to come with a little bit more maternal center body, particularly right in there in her forerib. She kind of wants to concave, kind of run downhill a little bit there, just like to give her a little bit more power right there through her center body, and then I think I would run with her look. Just not enough to her right there through that center part. Heifer in third is one that probably matches a little bit in terms of type and kind, just from that sensibly sized, moderate, really proportional package to the one that wins. Difference here is this one's not near as ladylike up front as either of those heifers right ahead of her. She's one that, again, you just like to make her a little bit, I think, more feminine, make her a little bit probably leaner up would also help that individual. Opposite end in terms of, I think, composition is this heifer that's in fourth. That one's tremendously long, just later maturing in her kind. For me, though, at this stage in age, I just like her a little softer through her center body. She reads a little harsher, a little tighter made there, but in terms of a really tall-shouldered one that's got a tremendous amount of length, that's still a nice kind of heifer to be fourth. So a really good group there of intermediates.
And your senior champion female in the Red Pole Show goes to Malcolm Ray of Portland, Indiana, with entry 5505, and reserve in Grand, Kentucky in that division goes to Mackenzie Young of Shelbyville, Kentucky, with entry 6652. We're now showing for Grand Champion Red Pole female in the East Ring. To get caught up on the Santa Gertrudis Show, results from Class 9 early summer yearling heifer. First goes to Alan Barlow of Lenoir, North Carolina, with entry 1974. Second to Top Shelf Cattle Company of California, Missouri, with entry 6549. And third goes to Alan Barlow, and fourth to Nolan Hurd. We're now showing Class 10 late junior yearling heifers.
As we kind of get in and wrap up the female side of the Red Pole Show, again, I'm just very thankful for the Red Pole and the Kentucky State Fair for having me. It's truly an honor. 120 years, I believe, is what I've seen all over the signs and whatnot. And I can tell you, I've been to a few of them, and every year I just enjoy coming back. Something about coming up that ramp here in Broadbent, if it doesn't make the hair on the back of your neck stand up, I don't know if your heart's beating. Alongside of that, and most importantly, I'd like to take a moment to thank my Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ, for blessing me with the opportunity to do this, the blessings of 22 years of life, and to do it in a country and a nation wherever there's no doubt there's divide, but there's definitely a lot of good that comes out of it. My family sits up there. I couldn't do it without them. They let me kind of rip and run and do all different kinds of things, and I'm very, very thankful for their support. Lindsay, I don't know if you're listening out in Kansas, but I love you, and this time next year we'll be married, and I can't wait to do life with you. I guess the last thing I'll say is maybe that I'm young and I'm 22, and I know that I haven't got to experience all the ups and downs of life yet, but I love American history. And I think God put it on my heart to kind of say this today. I think about our founding fathers, and I think about the sacrifices they made in order to give us life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. I think about the boys that held up that flag at Iwo Jima, knowing that maybe some of them wasn't going to make it home to their moms and their dads and their families that loved them. I think about the firefighters, the first responders at 9/11, the people that took that plane down in order to save the lives of others. And I think about that, and one word sums it up to me, and it's patriotism. In this country, I think some days we wake up and we've lost our sense of patriotism. We've lost the sight of the fact that we still live in the greatest nation in the world, and we get up and down on all the things that don't matter. So what I'll challenge each and every single one of us that are here listening to me ramble right now to do come November is don't go to that election poll and vote as a Republican or vote as a Democrat. By God, vote as an American. God bless each and every single one of you. We're going to get you a champion in reserve.
And your grand champion, Red Pole female at the Kentucky State Fair, goes to Sadie Jo Brown of Hardinsburg, Kentucky, with MFFRR Jordan M230. She will also be your Kentucky champion. And your reserve grand champion heifer goes to Andrea Weaver of Ligonier, Indiana, with JFF Dottie J312. We're now showing Class 31 Junior Bull Calves with one entry.
Well, a really good group all the way through and fun to sort in these spring yearling heifers, particularly this top pair. Heifer that wins, I think, just all in, most complete in terms of not only certainly aesthetically having a really attractive look, but more importantly, she's got some length and some extension and yet also substance to go along with that. I think one that's more than good enough in terms of structure relative to her contemporaries in this class. Maybe as we study her as an individual, you might like to give her a little bit more reach. I think, frankly, you lean her up a little bit, she would do that for you, probably just naturally, a really kind of easy doer. What I think gives her the advantage, and for me makes the decision a little bit quicker in this high-quality pair, I like her in terms of her bone and her joint work. To me, reads just a lot cleaner and a lot more correct. Heifer in second is one that I like just in terms, again, proportionally made. Don't mind moderation in cattle, especially when everything matches to the kind of framework that they have. That one, when we get her set up and stopped, puts together a really attractive kind of silhouette, yet doesn't disappoint you from those maternal features up high. She's maybe one you get in and study her and her joints, particularly their rear hock. To me, just a little bit more concerning, some swelling there. I just like to fix that, and I think it's those small things, don't mean to be critical, but just makes that decision on a really high-quality pair. Heifer in third, one that's really a power kind of cow, growthy, lots of weight per day of age in this one. Again, we talk about one that's got some flesh, feature, foundation, really heavy-duty, durable built. Mean that as a compliment. She's one, ask her to get out and go. I just like her to be a little bit more athletic, be a little bit more comfortable, not only in how she reaches out of her shoulder, but just follows up behind. I think give her a notch more length out of her hip would help with that. The one that does have the advantage in extension, longer spined, longer up front and hipped, is this one that's going to come in fourth. Young lady does an exquisite job of getting her put together, really heads up. She's just one that, relative to that extra shot of frame, we'd like to see her with a little bit more substance. Also there, that pin tit there underneath her concerns me just a little bit. Auxiliary teats, know those happen, but just like to see her a little bit sounder from an udder standpoint. And then finally, the heifer that closes, again, I think love her just for what she is as an individual. I think she's going to have a lot of longevity just relative to this class. Probably not enough of her today, but one that just lots of good, lots of quality, a nice way to complete what's a really high-quality spring-born class of yearlings.
Back over here on the red pole side, as we get diving into our bull show, a really useful, nice type of a calf. And when the young pair here gets him settled down and gets him looking the right way, man, that's an up-fronted, smooth blending type of a bull calf that's got a lot of shape to him. I think at this stage of the game and the condition that he's in, that calf's going to grow and turn into a pretty heavy-duty, nice type of a bull on down the road. Congratulate this pair there as they exit the ring.
And your junior bull calf champion in the red pole show goes to Jackson Farms of Greens Fork, Indiana, with entry 1495. Results from Class 10 late junior summer yearling heifers in the Santa Gertrudis show. First goes to Daryl Pitchford of Eustis, Texas, with entry 5744. Second to Alan Barlow of Lenoir, North Carolina, with entry 1976. Third goes to Alan Barlow. Fourth to H2 Cattle Company, and fifth and first Kentucky goes to Ashley Osborne. We're now showing Class 11 early junior yearling heifers.
Over here in our Santa Gertrudis ring, a really nice January yearling female, one that I think is just a really nice case study to look at in terms of uniquely one that has, I think, lots of bloom, yet still really appropriate in her amount of condition relative to her age and her maturity, really impeccable in terms of her lines, like that about her. Study her forerib in relation to her midrib and her flank, really up-headed. She's one really like her at the top side of her skeleton. Maybe down lows, just again, as we discuss them as an individual because everything's progressive. They're off of her rear, too. Maybe like to give her a little bit more reach, change how she's set out of that hock, go to the ground. That one gets a little shallow there on that outside toe. But again, just discussing her as an individual because that one's still a really nice single entry representative. Could have stood a lot more competition here, but another nice yearling class.
Results from Class 11 early junior yearling heifer. First goes to Alan Barlow of Lenoir, North Carolina, with entry 1977. We're now showing for champion yearling Santa Gertrudis heifer.
Tell you, definitely the most the toughest decision, I guess, if you will, I've had to make today. I think there's a lot of good in both of these bulls, and I won't tell you if you flip the pair with me, doesn't really matter. I'll go home and sleep just fine. I think it's when you get him on the motion that the bull up front does so and wins comfortably for me. I think if you just study him at the slope and the point of his shoulder, how that bull wants to get out and step out of his front end, and likewise just the set and the travel of his hind leg, specifically in his hock joint, I like much better than the bull that's in second. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's as massive and is just as opened up as the bull that's in second, But I still think if you get up on top of him, he's got more than enough shape, and I like the way that bull just blends and balances together, whether we're standing still or rolling in motion. The bull that's in second, performance, power, mass, dimension, you can throw the book at him in that regard. You've got a real big-bodied, massive type of a bull. I like his slick hair coat. He's a useful kind of a calf. I guess for me personally, when we get that calf and moving, is he perfect in how he wants to step out of his front end? His shoulder angle reads just a little bit far forward for me. I think he's got enough cushion built into his hock, but if you watch that bull travel away from us, he really wants to step just a little wide behind, doesn't really just push his hind leg further enough back for me. Really nice pair of them there, though. Let's congratulate both of them.
Results from Class 35 are early senior bull calves, and these will also be your division champions. First in division champion goes to Adam Miller of Eminence, Kentucky with entry 6273, and reserve in that division goes to Jackson Farms of Greens Fork, Indiana with entry 1494. We're now showing Class 39 early summer yearling bulls.
Well, a really nice group here of yearling females, and I think all really kind of appropriately represent just in this particular division. We talked about the variants that we could get in our calves, but even just as we go from our summer born to our winter, all represent those individual, very competitive classes really nicely. I think all in, there's one out here that in terms of the pattern and precedent that we've tried to discuss and represent in this show so far combines that substance, style, structure, I think to the highest degree. Not that there's not quality representatives out here, but one that's just kind of that nice middle of the road, midpoint kind of a female. All really incredibly good. I'll go out and select your champion in reserve, but yet again, another round of applause here in this junior division.
Back over here on your red pole side, a really good profile and type of a bull the young man brings to us. I love this one's just length and extension he's got. His top line, his levelness of hip, his length from hooks to pins are all very, very nice. That bull comes to us with a pretty good testicular development as well. If we could change and just tweak on him ever so slightly, we could sure just open him up just a little bit out the back of his shoulder, give him a touch more stoutness here from behind. Nevertheless, that's an awfully nice single entry. Definitely could have withstood some competition. Congratulations to you.
Your intermediate champion bull in the red pole show goes to Justin Platt of Fairland, Indiana with entry 3641. And your champion yearling heifer in the Santa Gertrudis show goes to Daryl Pitchford of Eustis, Texas with entry 5744. Your reserve champion yearling heifer goes to Alan Barlow of Lenoir, North Carolina with entry 1976. And your Kentucky Kentucky champion yearling heifer goes to Ashley Osborne with entry 1511. We're now showing Class 14 late senior yearling heifer in the Santa Gertrudis show.
We're getting wrapped up over here on the red pole side. Again, thank you guys for having me, the opportunity to sort your cattle. I'll leave you with this, whether you liked or you didn't like how I sorted them. At the end of the day, if you can go home and you're happy with the cattle that you're breeding, they're working in your program, then I tell you what, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Congratulations to you guys one more time. I'll go get you a champion and reserve bull.
And your grand champion, Red Pole Bull, goes to Adam Miller of Eminence, Kentucky with MFF Shells Rock. He will also be your Kentucky grand champion. And your reserve grand champion, Red Pole Bull at the Kentucky State Fair, goes to Justin Platt of Fairland, Indiana with GLS King Bow 308.
Well, a really impressive pair here of senior yearling females, both due to calve right on time from a gestation interval standpoint. I think they each represent everything that we'd expect of this breed, but frankly, any cattle from an industry standpoint, just in terms of being the right kind. Again, we talk about right compositionally for where they're at in their age. They do all those things in spades. Between those two, just really like the unique kind of balance that the heifer that wins offers, one that's just truly ladylike, appropriately made up front, yet feeds back into that big old rib cage. That one's truly got a lot of muscle shape and genuine width. If we're going to get a little critical just because we haven't made a perfect one yet, maybe shave just a little bit off that shoulder, but again, that's part of what lays that foundation for all that genuine squareness and stoutness that she has. That one's a really monster-footed one, lots of ruggedness, durability.